Hi everyone, I'm Ani Flix with That's a Wrap, and this week we're going to take a look at some psychological romance thriller movies made up of modern and classic releases. These movies highlight manipulation and mind games at their best, complex relationships, and plenty of deception and twist. So here are my top 10 psychological romance thriller movies. Let's jump right in. My number 10 pick is Entrapment, released in 1999, directed by John Amiel, starring the late Sean Connery as Mac, an aging but legendary art thief, and Catherine Zeta-Jones as Jen, an insurance investigator, who poses as a skilled thief in order to trap him. As the plot unfolds, Mac and Jen begin planning a series of elaborate international robberies, specifically one high-tech heist tied to the New Year's Eve 2000 computer panic. Suspicion and attraction start to grow between them, prompting them to determine if the other is a trustworthy partner, a con artist, or something in between. Entrapment highlights fascinating locations, suspenseful cat-and-mouse dynamic, as well as exciting chemistry between Mac and Jen in this stylish film that blends romance, deception, and lots of suspense. This movie is available to watch on YouTube, Apple TV, and Prime Video. Number 9 on my list is Drive, released in 2011, directed by Nicholas Winding Refn, starring Ryan Gosling, who goes by Driver, a quiet Hollywood stunt driver by day who upholds a code of professional control and skill as a getaway driver for criminals by night. As the plot unfolds, we see things begin to unravel for him as his feelings for his neighbor Irene, played by Carey Mulligan, and her young son start to deepen, pulling him into a dangerous chain of events, with the return of Irene's husband named Standard, played by Oscar Isaac, from prison, which opens the door for gangsters, betrayal, and the need for survival. Drive is known for its art house style of romance, met with minimal dialogue, synth-heavy soundtrack, neon-enriched visuals, and sudden bursts of intense criminal violence. This movie is free to watch on Tubi, Netflix, Apple TV, and Prime Video. Fear, released in 1996, comes in at number 8, directed by James Foley, starring Mark Wahlberg as David McCall, a charming but dangerously possessive young man who begins a romantic relationship with Nicole Walker, a teenage girl played by Reese Witherspoon. As the plot unfolds, we see David appear to be confident, attentive, and exciting, winning Nicole's affection. However, as the relationship deepens, suspense arises as Nicole's father, Steve, played by William Peterson, begins to notice David's obsessively violent tendencies, leading him to believe that his family is in danger. Fear explores themes of obsession, manipulation, and abusiveness in this portrayal of toxic romance and intense, unsettling suspense. This movie is available on Netflix, Apple TV, and Prime Video. Number 7 on my list is Decision to Leave, released in 2022, directed by Park Chan-woo, starring Hae-il Park as Detective John Hae-jun, who finds himself investigating the suspicious death of a man found at the base of a mountain while becoming fascinated by the victim's widow, Sang Se-rae, played by Tang Wei, a charismatic, attractive young woman. As the plot unfolds, we see young Hae-jun's investigation become more complicated as his feelings for Sang Se-rae deepen, blurring lines between truth and desire as obsession, suspicion, and romantic tension escalate. Decision to Leave blends noir-style detective storytelling in the psychological romance thriller from the same director of Old Boy and the 2016 version of The Handmaiden. This movie is available on Mubi, Apple TV, and Prime Video. Sea of Love, released in 1989, comes in at number 6, directed by Harold Becker, starring Al Pacino as Frank Keller, a burned-out alcoholic NYPD detective who falls for Ellen Barkin's character, Helen Kruger, a woman who happens to be a prime suspect in a string of serial murders, known for leaving the 1959 hit song Sea of Love playing on the turntable at the scene of each crime. As the plot unfolds, Frank teams up with a fellow detective, Sherman Toohey, played by John Goodman, who devises a plan to run their own personal ad with intent to set up a sting operation to collect fingerprints of potential suspects. It is during the sting that Frank meets and falls in love with Helen Kruger, jeopardizing his career, the case, and his life. Sea of Love is a gritty neo-noir psychological thriller that blends passion, suspense, and intrigue while highlighting the dangers of crossing professional boundaries with romantic desire. This movie is available on Apple TV and Prime Video. My number 5 pick is Companion, released in 2025, directed by Drew Hancock, starring Sophie Thatcher as Iris, an attractive young woman who realizes after the planned getaway for her and her boyfriend Josh, played by Jack Quaid, that not only is she an android, but that she is programmed by Josh. As the plot unfolds, we see that Iris's discovery prompts her to take matters into her own hands, creating moments of self-awareness that leads to a bloody fight for survival. Companion is a psychological thriller with satirical elements that highlights modern dating expectations, misogyny, and loneliness. This movie is available on Apple TV, Fandango at Home, and Prime Video. Number 4 on my list is Drop, released in 2025, directed by Christopher Landon, starring Megan Fahey as Violet Gates, a therapist and widowed mother, starting to date again after the death of her abusive husband, as she meets a handsome photographer named Henry, played by Brandon Sklenar, at an upscale restaurant atop a Chicago skyscraper. As the plot unfolds, we see Violet and Henry trying to enjoy a romantic evening, only to be constantly interrupted by Violet's phone, which begins receiving anonymous digidrop from what appears to be someone with malicious instructions to kill Henry, to prevent harm coming to her sister and her son, who are being held hostage. Drop highlights romance and intrigue in this Hitchcockian thriller that takes viewers on what can only be described as an unpredictable, over-the-edge ride. This movie is available on Peacock, Apple TV, and Prime Video. Next on my list is The Thomas Crown Affair, released in 1999 at number 3, directed by John McTiernan, starring Pierce Brosnan as Thomas Crown, a wealthy, sophisticated businessman who secretly orchestrates the theft of a priceless painting from a New York museum just for the thrill of it. As the plot unfolds, after the theft of the prize painting by Claude Monet, Catherine Bannon, an insurance investigator played by Rene Russo, arrives and comes to the conclusion that Thomas Crown is responsible for the heist, which leads her to keep him in her sights, only to find herself developing feelings for him in the process, which crosses professional and personal lines, jeopardizing her investigation. The Thomas Crown Affair is a stylish remake of the 1968 classic, highlighting the exciting game of cat and mouse, elegant romance, and a clever art heist sequence, all the while depicting charismatic chemistry between Russo and Brosnan. The Thomas Crown Affair is free to watch on Tubi, the Roku channel, and through Apple TV and Prime Video. Match Point, released in 2005, slides in at number 2, directed by Woody Allen, starring Jonathan Rhys-Meyers as Chris Wilton, a former tennis pro who finds himself climbing the ladder of London's most affluent socialites after befriending a wealthy family. Although he becomes engaged to Chloe, played by Emily Mortimer, he finds himself obsessed with Nola Rice, an aspiring actress played by Scarlett Johansson. As the plot unfolds, we see Chris go through great lengths to juggle his relationship with Chloe and his arranged moments with Nola, while struggling to maintain his social status with the elites and digging himself in deeper in a world of lies and manipulation. Match Point blends themes of luck, class, and fate, while creating a thin line between the potential for success and the potential for disaster. This movie is free to watch on Tubi and through Apple TV and Prime Video. Which brings me to my number 1 pick, The Adjustment Bureau, released in 2011, directed by George Nolfi, starring Matt Damon as David Norris, a charismatic U.S. Senator candidate who meets Emily Blunt's character, Elise Sellis, a lively contemporary dancer, as the two make an instant magnetic connection. As the plot unfolds, we see that Matt and Elise become targeted by a clandestine group of supernatural caseworkers who appear to have the power to enforce the plan, a set course of action that is to be strictly followed without deviation by the leader known as the chairman. As the caseworkers close in, Matt and Elise find themselves on the run to escape capture and break free from the plan and its limiting rules. The Adjustment Bureau blends romance, intrigue, and manipulation in the psychological thriller that highlights the limitations within a predetermined destiny. This movie is available through Fandango at Home, Apple TV, and Prime Video. And that's a wrap. Here's a recap of my top 10 psychological romance thriller movies. If you have any top favorites, drop them in the comments below. For more new releases and top 10 favorites, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification button. Thank you for watching. I'm Ani Flix. See you next time.